And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
There's a lot of board games on the market, and the king of board games for hundreds of years has been chess, right? And now we have so many games that come out in these years. I'm recording this review in 2018, and there is thousands of games that come out. We don't see as many chess variants. For a while, there was chess variant. We have solved four-player chess, what's been said many times. Well, this is the first chess variant I played in a long time, actually. This is color chess and Lure. So there's several different variants of chess in here, but this one changes the board itself. Instead of being black and white squares, or red and black, depending what kind of board you play, this is going to be all different colors, a random setup, and you're going to be able to force your opponent to make moves that they might not normally make. Here's how you play it. So the board is set up like normal chess, with the exception of you're going to be building it from these different color blocks that are put around the board. There's 6 different colors. So you just randomly put these here, and then you set it up. I'm going to assume those of you watching already know how to play chess. So basic color chess works like this. On your turn, the first player picks a piece and moves it like normal. So let's say, for example, I move my pawn to here. I move my pawn into a purple color, which means my opponent must now move to a purple color. So that means they can move this pawn here, this pawn here, this pawn here, or this knight could go here or here. Those are their only options. So let's say they move a knight here. They then have a second move that they can make. Now, for your second move, you can move anything, wherever you want it to be. So they might, for example, move this pawn to purple. So now it comes back to me. I must move to a purple again. Now here my options are a lot more limited. My queen can't get to a purple. This knight can't get to a purple. So the only option I have here is moving that up there. And if I didn't have a spot to move to a purple, let's say this was my action now and I had to move to a purple, then you just skip your first turn and you move, and you only get 1 move instead of 2. So then maybe in my second move, I decide to bring my queen out here to yellow. Again, I'm not trying to play here to show how good of a player I am, just showing how the game works. Now my opponent has to move to a yellow. Well, looking at the board right now, they can't move to a yellow, so they have to skip that action. So then maybe they move, let's say they move their rook to a blue. Now I have to move to a blue. So even though the queen normally might be able to capture these pieces, I can't on my first turn because I would have to move to a blue and look around the board, and I don't have a lot of options to move to a blue, but I can move this piece, this pawn here to a blue. And then it's my second action, so I could capture this here with the purple, but then my opponent would have to move to a purple, and I could just capture it with their pawn. I could capture this one with a purple, but then the rook here could capture me with a purple, and so on and so forth. Now, in this game, your king is never checkmated. You win the game by capturing your opponent's king, because you can make 2 moves. In fact, you can even put your king in check for your first move to move him out. All other rules apply to the game. There's castling and passant, there's promoting your pawns, etc. Now there are variations that you can play on colored chess. If you get 2 boxes of this, you can play 4. There's also Swarm, where you have to move every possible piece. So let's say, for example, I move my pawn here to red. Well, that's not a good example because they don't have red. Let's say I move my pawn to green. They would have to move every piece that could get to green would have to go to green. So they can move this piece, and this knight could get to green, and then this guy goes to green. Those are all the possibilities they have of going to green. And to help keep track of that, you would flip them over every turn to show that all your pieces have moved. You'd flip over all your pieces each turn. You can also play sequence, where you move to these colors each turn, and you just keep following that same sequence over and over and over again. And so those are basically the regular ones. Now let's take a quick look, though, at another game that comes with this called Lure. Now Lure is played fairly differently. This is the very basic game. You have a king and you have a sword. Now, in this game, it's played a little bit like swarm chess, where I might make a move, so I might move to red with this, and then my opponent must move all their pieces to red if possible. So maybe they move the sword up. Now their king can't move to red, so that's fine. And then they move to green. However, when you move to a color, you can move all adjacent pieces. You could have slid all the way over there, for example. And then my opponent must move the green. So I go here, for example. But I could have also gone here or here. So you're moving around. Now, sometimes that will force someone to go to a spot that you don't want to go to. And then I move to yellow. Slide over like this, which means my opponent has to go to yellow. He moves to purple, which is a bad move because now I capture him. Swords can capture other pieces. They're the only pieces that can. You're going to get 1 point for every piece you capture and 1 point for every piece that you get to your opponent's side. In a 2-piece game like the one I'm showing you, if you get your king to the other side, you automatically win. In a 2-piece game like this one, only the king really matters. But you can play with a lot more pieces. There's a lot of different setups that include shields, which can block attacks from other players, spiders, which can land on top of someone to keep them from moving, and rams, which can push people off of the board. And there's various setups. The rule book has some setups here, and you pick which setup, and then it tells you how many points you need to win. This is the full setup for the game. You can see it has a bunch of shields, and there's only a couple pieces that can attack the other person, so you're blocking and doing a lot of different things with the game. So that is essentially how lure works. So the game pieces themselves, let's be honest, they're not really that good. At least I'm very glad that people who are colorblind won't have too much of a problem because you're able to see there's a different background for each color. Although oddly enough, they didn't do that on these then on the side of the board, which I thought was kind of weird. But whatever, your opponent can just tell you what the colors are, I suppose. The game suffers from the, having a jigsaw board here. It doesn't fit together as well as I'd like it to. And if it fits together tight, you have that problem where you're filling this in. And when you get to the last one, you're like trying to slide it in without making all the pieces fall apart. The iconography is very good and clear. The pieces look good, but the whole thing is, it's okay. It's nothing, I mean, even the box and the rules, it's like, really? That's your graphic design? Not very good. The rule book itself, though, is very clear. It teaches you actual chess. If you don't know how to play chess, it will tell you how to, each of the things move. And then it goes over all the different variants and how to play 4 players. And you can even put some color tiles on the board, which will change things. The lava, which you don't want the whole floor to be made of. How the different pieces work in lure, and then how to mix chess with lure. So there's a lot of, the rule book is well done for sure. So overall, this is a interesting variant. I like playing them. I like color chess. I think it's an interesting thing where, I'm not very good at it, but I'll sit there and go, okay, I got this plan, and then my opponent's forcing me. I'm like, oh, you just forced me to stick my queen where I don't want it to be. Now I can move it again, but at the same time, that messes up my attack plan on you. Let's put color chess to the side and talk about lure. I thought lure was okay. I get what they're trying to do. Lure is a good abstract strategy game, I suppose, but it didn't feel very fluid to me. They tell you when you're building a board for lure not to put 5 of a color together, and I have played one game with 5 of a color together, and I can see why, because you're sliding pieces across the board. And it felt tense, but it just didn't have that same feeling to me as chess did, and I get how it works, but I just thought it was okay. Color chess, swarm color chess, I thought was interesting. Sequence was okay, but swarm was interesting. I like the idea of making 2 moves on your turn, but your first move is very restricted. Your second move is more free, but every time you make your first move, you are kind of like, well, what are my options? What can I do, or do I have to do? Your second one, you're thinking, okay, I want to move here to set myself up for future moves, whatever, like you normally do in chess. But what is my opponent going to be able to do with their first move? And can I force them to go somewhere that they might not want to go? To even maybe force them to put their king in check. Some really interesting ideas here. The board is going to be different each time it's set up with all the different colors. They're going to be in different places and everything. So it's a nice variant to chess. I don't think chess players are going to be like, what? I will only play color chess from now on. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think if you've gotten bored with chess, maybe this will be a variant that will spice it up. Or if you're someone who likes to play chess a lot, this is something different and unusual. And it's like kind of like, oh, let's give this one a try. I don't think I would get 2 sets and play 4 players. But like I said, I thought the lure game was okay. But the color chess is something interesting, and I've played a lot of chess variants over the years, and this is certainly something that has a complete different feel to everything else. I wish the components were nicer, and honestly, I wouldn't mind if I was going to keep this, I would probably get rid of those pieces and just find a cheap plastic chess set so I can actually have them standing on the board. I think I would like that better. But other than that, interesting. I guess I've used that word a lot in this review, but I think it's the best word to describe this game, color chess. Dice Tower Judgment, a nice variant on chess.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.